That evening, Nico summoned Arya and announced that her wedding to Kai would be cancelled. "Our guest has offered a generous sum. You will be his wife," he declared coldly. Once upon a time in a distant land of Africa, there were two brothers named Leo and Nico, each known for their distinct personalities. Leo was known for his kindness, always helping those around him, while Nico was famous for his strength and his tendency to cause trouble. While Leo spent his time aiding others, Nico led a gang that terrorized the villagers, taking whatever they wanted and plunging the village into despair. After enduring countless losses, the villagers decided to bring their concerns to the king, King Theo, a wise and beloved leader. The village spokesperson pleaded earnestly, "Your Majesty, Nico and his gang have become a serious threat. Every day they take a portion of our earnings, making it nearly impossible for us to feed our families." King Theo listened carefully and pondered over his people's troubles. He retreated to his chambers and thought for days, searching for a solution to protect the villagers from Nico's gang. He understood that a direct confrontation could backfire. Nico's gang had grown strong and might even outmatch his own soldiers. Finally, he devised a plan and called a meeting with his advisors. "We have the following options," the king began. "We could form an alliance with a neighboring village to stand against Nico and his gang, but that may lead to bloodshed. Alternatively, we could offer Nico a portion of the village's gold in exchange for peace and his promise to protect the people." The advisors thought carefully, weighing the risks and benefits, and ultimately voted in favor of offering the gold, hoping this would secure peace for the villagers. A messenger was sent to meet with Nico, carrying the king's offer, a substantial amount of gold from the village treasury in exchange for peace and a promise to protect the people. Suspicious, Nico assumed it was a trap and rejected the offer, ordering his gang to stay away from the palace. However, Leo, who had overheard the conversation, was moved by the king's offer and saw this as a chance for his brother to change. He approached Nico, hoping to convince him. "Brother, this is a chance to start over," Leo reasoned. "The king wants to give you an opportunity for a better life." Nico only sneered, dismissing Leo's advice, but Leo remained undeterred. He offered to go to the palace on Nico's behalf, believing this gesture could bring lasting peace. "Let me represent you and the gang," Leo proposed. "I'll bring the gold back, and all I ask for is a small portion for my daughter, Arya." Nico laughed, not believing that Leo had the courage to go to the palace. But Leo, filled with hope for a peaceful future, prepared to meet the king. On the day of the gathering, he left Arya with a trusted neighbor and set out for the palace. Upon arriving at the palace gates, Leo cleverly called out, "I come in peace. I am not alone." This created the illusion that he had support, making the guards more cautious. They promptly escorted him inside, and soon Leo found himself face to face with the king. "Where is Nico?" the king asked, frowning. Leo calmly replied, "I am Leo, Nico's younger brother. He sent me as his representative to discuss the terms of peace. Please understand that if anything happens to me, my brother will retaliate." His clever tactic convinced the king and his advisors to proceed with caution, and they ultimately agreed to Leo's terms, bringing out the promised gold. Throughout the meeting, every 10 minutes, Leo would step outside and shout, "I am safe, don't shoot," to maintain the illusion that he had allies watching from afar. When the agreement was finalized, he loaded the gold onto a cart, his heart full of hope, as he began the journey home. When he arrived, Nico was stunned to see Leo bringing the gold. "Brother, we did it! Peace is within our grasp!" Leo exclaimed joyfully, eager to share the king's generosity. However, Nico was overcome with jealousy. He hadn't wanted Leo to succeed and had no intention of sharing the gold. Hiding his envy, he told Leo to rest while he would divide the gold fairly. In the days that followed, Nico's jealousy grew, making him increasingly ruthless. He led Leo on a long walk under the guise of discussing the division of the gold. They walked farther and farther until they reached a high cliff. There, Nico stopped and turned to Leo, his face filled with resentment. "Brother, if you want peace, then jump," Nico ordered coldly. Leo's heart sank as he realized the impending danger. Trembling, he pleaded, "Please let me live. I will take my daughter far away and never return. Please, spare my life." But Nico's hatred remained unshaken. Determined to remove Leo from his life, he ordered again, "Jump, or I will push you." Realizing there was no other way, Leo made one final plea. "Please take care of Arya for me. She is innocent in all of this." With those words, he looked at his brother one last time before stepping over the edge of the cliff. The next day, Nico spread the news of Leo's death, feigning grief to avoid suspicion. The villagers mourned Leo, their kind-hearted friend, while Nico returned to his gang, now wealthier and more terrifying than ever. Years passed, and Nico grew wealthier, surpassing even the king. He hoarded gold, keeping only a small portion for his gang, who obeyed him out of fear. Meanwhile, Arya grew into a kind-hearted young woman, though she bore the stigma of her family name. Despite her efforts to earn the villagers' trust, her uncle's reputation continued to haunt her. One day, Arya met a young man named Liam, who was different from the others. He was drawn to her kindness and was undeterred by her family's dark history. Their relationship deepened, and soon they were talking about a future together. But just as their hopes seemed within reach, Nico announced that Arya would marry a wealthy man from another village, leaving Arya and Liam heartbroken. Arya pleaded with her uncle to reconsider, but he ignored her request. Desperate, she turned to Kai, the son of a trusted ally of Nico. Kai, who had secretly loved Arya for years, promised to support her. When Nico refused to listen, Kai confronted him, appealing to their long-standing friendship. "Nico, we've been friends for as long as I can remember. I've stood by your side without asking for anything. Today I ask only one thing: let Arya choose her own path," Kai pleaded. Nico, unmoved by Kai's words, sneered and said, "If your son can pay 200 bars of gold, then he can marry Arya. If not, she will belong to the highest bidder." Outraged, Kai walked away, realizing that his friend's greed knew no bounds. He returned to Arya, saddened and disappointed, but vowed to always stand by her side. Heartbroken, Arya went back to her room, feeling the weight of her family's legacy pressing down on her. In the days that followed, Arya found comfort in her friendship with Kai. Their friendship gradually blossomed into a deep love, and Kai confessed his feelings, promising to love her no matter the hardships. Moved by his sincerity, Arya accepted his proposal, and together they planned a simple wedding, hopeful for a peaceful future. But just 2 days before the ceremony, Nico delivered another heavy blow. "An important guest will be arriving. Make sure everything is perfect," he instructed Arya, hinting that this guest could bring great wealth to the family. That evening, Nico summoned Arya and announced that her wedding to Kai would be cancelled. "Our guest has offered a generous sum. You will be his wife," he declared coldly, leaving Arya in despair. Desperate, Arya went to Kai's father, hoping he could persuade Nico to reconsider. But Nico's greed was bottomless. He was willing to sell his niece's future for a pile of gold, with no regard for her happiness. As she sat alone, struggling with her uncle's betrayal, Arya remembered her father, Leo. She recalled stories of his kindness, sacrifice, and courage. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she realized that her only choice was to find her own path, even if it meant leaving behind everything she had ever known. Arya knew she had to stand up and take control of her own life. She was tired of living in the shadow of her uncle Nico and his selfish ambitions. With all the determination and love she held for her late father, she began to plan her departure from the village to build a new life. On a dark night, Arya secretly met with Kai. She told him about her decision. "I can't stay here any longer, Kai. I can't let Uncle Nico decide my life anymore." Kai looked at her with a mix of surprise and admiration. "Arya, if that's what you want, I'll go with you wherever you go," he replied, his eyes filled with determination. The two began preparing for their escape from the village, knowing they would face many challenges and dangers ahead. They chose a moonless night to slip away, carrying only a few essential belongings and leaving no trace behind. Kai took Arya's hand, guiding her into the darkness, stepping together into an uncertain but hopeful future. However, their plan was not as flawless as they had hoped. When they were halfway to the village border, a group of Nico's guards spotted them. They immediately gave chase, and a tense pursuit unfolded in the darkness of the dense forest. Arya and Kai ran as fast as they could through the narrow, rugged trails. Their hearts pounded in their chests, but they didn't dare stop. Finally, feeling exhausted, they hid in a small, rocky crevice to avoid the guards' gaze. Kai whispered, "We'll never let Nico find you, Arya. I promise to protect you." The chase through the night was a test of their love and courage. After hours of hiding and evading, they finally escaped the pursuit of the guards. As the sun rose, Arya and Kai stood atop a hill, looking out over a new land, free from the shadow of Nico and his oppressive power. They continued their journey with renewed hope. Along the way, they met kind-hearted people, villagers who were willing to help, offering them food and shelter. Arya began to realize that life held many beautiful things ahead, if she had the courage to face the challenges. After months of wandering, Arya and Kai finally arrived in a peaceful village where they were welcomed with open arms. They decided to build a new life there, starting over in a place of peace and love. Arya opened a small shop, sharing lessons of kindness and courage that she had learned from her father and her own life experiences. Kai was always by her side, supporting her in everything. Stories of Arya and her courageous journey quickly spread throughout the village and surrounding areas. People began calling her the daughter of courage, the one who escaped oppression and stayed true to her values. Arya not only found happiness for herself, but also inspired many others. Meanwhile, in the old village, Nico remained unaware that his power and greed would lead to consequences. The villagers gradually distanced themselves from him, and even his once loyal allies began to doubt and lose respect for him. Not long after, a quiet uprising began among those who had once been loyal to him. They could no longer endure Nico's brutality and longed for a life of freedom, unbound by his greed. The story of Arya and Nico became a profound lesson in kindness, love, and resilience. In the end, Arya proved that true strength doesn't come from power or wealth, but from courage and the ability to stand up for what is right.